Good evening, live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. Here we present to you tonight's news bulletin. But first, the headlines. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq receives a written message from His Excellency, the President of Palestine. His Highness, the Deputy Prime Minister for Defense Affairs, confers the aviation wings on a number of graduate pilots. And the General Assembly meeting of the Olympic Council of Asia in Muscat announces Doha is the 2030 Asian Games host country, and His Highness the Yezin affirms that the Asian Assembly draws a roadmap for cooperation among Asian countries. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq sends a cabal of greetings to His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo of the Republic of Ghana on re-electing him as President of the Republic for the second time. His Majesty the Sultan sends a cabal or similar cabal to His Majesty King Jigme Keshar Nangyal Gwangchuk of the Kingdom of Bhutan on his country's National Day. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq received a written message from His Excellency President Mahmoud Abbas of the State of Palestine. The message was handed over to His Highness Sayyid As-Saad bin Tariq Al Saeed, Deputy Prime Minister for the International Relations and Cooperation Affairs and Special Representative of His Majesty the Sultan, when His Highness received in his office this afternoon His Excellency Major General Jibril Rajoub, Chairman of the Supreme Council for Youth and Sports in the State of Palestine. During the meeting, cordial talks were exchanged and the good bilateral relations between the two brotherly countries were reviewed, as well as ways to support and develop them in various fields. The meeting was attended by His Highness Sayyid the Yezin bin Haytham Al Saeed, Minister of Culture, Sports and Youth, His Excellency the Secretary General of Their Excellencies, the two advisors at the Office of the Deputy Prime Minister for the International Relations and Cooperation Affairs and Special Representative of His Majesty the Sultan, and His Excellency Dr. Taysir Farhat, Ambassador of the State of Palestine accredited to the Sultanate of Oman. His Highness Sayyid Shihab bin Tariq Al Saeed, Deputy Prime Minister for the Defense Affairs, conferred the aviation wings on a number of graduate pilots in the Royal Air Force of Oman in the presence of Air Vice Marshal Matar bin Ali Al Ubaidani, Commander of the Royal Air Force of Oman. The pilots have undergone an integrated theoretical and practical training program in various fields of aviation. The graduation of these pilots is a translation of the training plans pursued by the leadership of the Royal Air Force of Oman to enhance the level of competence and weapon readiness. His Highness Sayyid the Yezin bin Haytham Al Saeed, Minister of Culture, Sports and Youth, launched today the works of the 39th General Assembly meeting of the Olympic Council of Asia in Muscat. The capital city of Qatar, Doha, was selected to host the Asian Games for 2030 after getting the biggest number of votes, while the capital city of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, will host the Asian Games for 2034. The meeting witnessed honoring of a number of personalities in Asia in recognition of their prominent contributions and efforts in the field of sports. On the sideline of the 39th General Assembly meeting of the Olympic Council of Asia, His Highness Sayyid the Yezin bin Haytham Al Saeed, Minister of Culture, Sports and Youth, expressed his thanks to the participants for choosing Muscat to host the works of the Olympic Council of Asia. He affirmed that the meeting draws a roadmap for cooperation and joint sport work among countries of the Asian continent. The launching of Oman Vision 2040 approved by His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq during the meeting of the Council of Ministers focuses on a number of points, among which are governance, institutional performance and environment. Its goals are to enhance sustainable development in all governorates of the Sultanate. The vision also aims to enhance the rule of law and to uplift the efficiency of the government apparatus and the level of coordination among them. It also focuses on building the trust of citizens through an institutional framework which works on the activation of laws and practices that will focus on various issues. Regarding the environment, the vision aims to achieve a balance among the environmental, economic and social requirements, while also working on sustainable development aspects as well as to preserve the environment and protect it from pollution, in addition to providing food and water security based on renewable resources and developed technologies. The implementation of Oman Vision 2040 commences next year within the 10th five-year plan, as the new renaissance of Oman prepared all conditions for its success through a number of steps, such as the restructuring of the administrative apparatus of the country and renewing laws and regulations. And now, news for the coronavirus. The novel coronavirus has killed at least 1.64 million people. More than 73.46 million cases have been registered. Of these, around 47.2 million are now considered recovered. Yesterday, 13,816 new deaths and 709,087 new cases were recorded worldwide. The United States is the worst affected country with 303,867 deaths. After the US, the hardest hit countries are Brazil with 182,799 deaths, India 144,096, Mexico 115,099, and Italy with 65,857 deaths. Europe overall has 493,165 deaths from 22,744 336 cases. Asia 207,297, the Middle East 85,505, and Africa 57,064 deaths. France's government spokesperson confirmed today that the country's coronavirus vaccine strategy will begin with 1 million nursing home residents. Gabriel Attal said the strategy would then focus on 15 million older and vulnerable people later in spring 2021. He also added that France is working with its European neighbors to start vaccination at the same time. So far, France has recorded around 2.45 million coronavirus infections with 59,182 recorded deaths. And now all the way to Japan. Tokyo reported 678 new cases of the coronavirus today, a new high for the Japanese capital. Chief Cabinet Secretary Kotsunobu Kato said today that the central government will continue working with metropolitan government closely and asked the nation and residents in Tokyo to follow basic antivirus measures. The Tokyo metropolitan government said that today's edition brings the prefecture's total to 48,668 cases. Infections have been on the rise nationwide. Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga, apparently reluctant to further damage business already hit by the pandemic, has been slow to take steps. Last Friday, after repeated calls from experts, Suga finally announced plans to suspend the government's travel promotion campaign nationwide from December 28th to January 11th, following a series of media surveys showing sharp decline in his support ratings. You are with the Sultanate of Oman television, and yet to come in our news bulletin. The Kingdom of Bahrain celebrates its 49th National Day amid great development march. Once again, welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. The fourth Oman Partnership and Social Responsibility Forum was held today in Muscat, shedding light on corporate social responsibility. The event was presided over by Her Excellency Layla bint Ahmed Al-Najjar, Minister of Social Development.
Corporate development responsibility in light of the priorities of Oman 2040 vision and towards an added developmental value of the social responsibility programs were the two key themes of the fourth Oman Forum for Partnership and Social Responsibility.
As we are today in the Omani Forum for Social Responsibility, it's very important that as we are very close to the new year and the vision of Oman 2040, we are focusing on the social responsibility of the private sector and what will be their role and pioneering role in the development of Oman from next year. As we know, there was a new vision, and there is a new vision for the next years, and there are many changes that are taking place, and we like to highlight the initiative taken by the private sector in the comprehensive development in the Sultanate of Oman.
Petroleum Development Oman PDO is a key player and a pioneer actually in driving and delivering in-country value ICV. We have achieved 48% of ICV, and we are proud of that. The ICV in PDO consists of 4 pillars: goods and services, Omanization and training, SMEs development and local community contractors development, and social investment. And at all these 4 pillars, PDO is delivering exceptionally well. And this is actually fully aligned with Oman Vision 2040. And we believe that in-country value is a key enabler for this vision in the future.
4 agreements in the field of social responsibility were signed at the forum, including establishing a new unit for kidney protein treatment in Ibri Hospital, establishing a common walkway in Ibri, and providing industrial equipment to the Early Intervention Center for Children with Disabilities.
The partnership is between Petrogas ENP and the Early Intervention Center for Children with Special Needs. It's a 3-year agreement to provide the Early Intervention Center with equipment and a workshop to provide tools for the children that the children need to help cope with their disability. The partnership is very important. This partnership, like all our other CSR initiatives, need to be long-term and sustainable in order for the association to have long-term benefits.
The discussions of the forum this year shed light on corporate social responsibility sector and the hoped-for role in the next 20 years, in light of the themes, priorities and objectives of Oman Vision 2040, to arrive at a clear methodology to implement the goals of the vision. The forum emphasizes on the importance of collaborative efforts of the partnership and social responsibility initiatives in the upcoming phase towards attaining the goals of Oman Vision 2040. صالح بن خلفان الرحبي, Sultanate of Oman Television, Muscat.
Thank you, Saleh, there. And here is the situation of coronavirus. The Ministry of Health reported that the total number of coronavirus COVID-19 registered cases in the Sultanate reached 126,835 cases with 1,480 deaths. The total recovery cases reached 118,736, which is 93.6% of the total cases reported so far. The ministry indicated that the total number of inpatients in hospitals reached 109, including 49 in intensive care units around the Sultanate's healthcare institutions. Oman Aviation Group signed a strategic agreement with Oman Post in order to move postal services to Muscat International Airport building. The agreement comes to affirm on the qualitative shift in the aviation and logistics sectors, which contributes in achieving economic growth. The agreement is also considered one of the main components of the national strategy for aviation, which aims at attracting local and international companies and encourage them to establish their projects. This is in return will strengthen the economic diversification policy and develop the private sector through various manufacturing industries. The Sultanate joins the sisterly kingdom of Bahrain in the celebration of its 49th National Day as it continues its development march that has placed it in the ranks of developed countries in all fields. The Sultanates and Bahrain have strong and deep-rooted historical relations as well as joint cooperation in various aspects as the leaders of both countries are working towards further development in a number of vital fields so as to achieve the aspirations of their people. The joint meetings between both sides contribute in the development of bilateral cooperation in political, economic, cultural and education fields. Both countries are keen towards preserving peace and stability in the region as well as facing challenges in addition to contributing within the efforts of the Gulf Cooperation Council to achieve the joint strategic goals so as to accomplish integration among the countries and nations of the region. And now to end this news bulletin, this is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Here are the main points once again. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq receives a written message from His Excellency the President of Palestine. His Highness the Deputy Prime Minister for Defense Affairs confers the aviation wings on a number of graduate pilots. At the General Assembly meeting of the Olympic Council of Asia in Muscat announces Doha is the 2030 Asian Games host country, and His Highness Sayyidi Yazin affirms that the Asian Assembly draws a clear roadmap for cooperation among Asian countries. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin brought to you live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman Television, directed by News Director Musa Nasri and English Chief Editor Ahmed Al-Habsi, together with the rest of the team, Badr Al-Haddabi, Nadia Al-Habsiya, Al-Maktoum, Al-Gleibi, Saeed Al-Ghafri, and, of course, Sushil Verghese. Good night.